I understand that it's a massive faux pas and a big no-no in the book community, but I am not ashamed of doing this. I will stand on this rock. I will die on this hill. Welcome, welcome. My name is Jillian, and this is my Dune by Frank Herbert review. So, a little disclaimer. I predominantly read fantasy and YA. I don't have much experience with sci-fi and classic sci-fi, and this is technically my first ever sci-fi novel I've read. So my opinions of this book are based around that. As a novice sci-fi reader, this is my review of it. So if you like what I like and are not accustomed to the sci-fi genre, but you want to, this is the review for you. So let's get on with this, shall we? So what did I think of Dune? What did I think of Dune? First things first, I need to admit something. I watched the 2021 version of Dune before I read the book. Oh yeah, scandalous. I understand that the books are always better than the movie, and it always is, but I just decided to take the high school approach. I'm having war flashbacks of English and doing the Shakespeare element and having to watch Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet before actually committing to the actual book or play of Romeo and Juliet. But anyways, that's what I did. And you know what? Watching the film made me run, nay, sprint to reading Dune. And I flipping loved it. I loved it. I love Dune. I'm a sci-fi reader now. So, what is Dune about? Dune centers around a boy named Paul, who is part of the Atreides noble family. But they leave their home planet called Caladan to be in charge of the collection and distribution of spice on a desolate, unlivable planet called Arrakis. So we follow Paul and we follow the Atreides family, but then an event happens that upends the whole family and their duties, and it becomes a story about revenge and so much more. And that's where I'll leave it, I think. I won't say anything else. Yeah. Dune was a very intimidating monstrosity. And I think that's why I watched the movie first. But it really wasn't that bad, guys. I've had heaps of people comment saying, oh, I'm scared to read Dune. And so was I. But look at me. Look at me now. Look at us now. So let's start with the things I liked and enjoyed about Dune. First off, first things first, it was so easy to read. It wasn't confusing at all. It is a terminology section or like a glossary of words that you might not understand. And do not be ashamed of flicking back and forth between the glossary pages and the novel, because I did it so many times that there is a permanent crack in the book of when I've been looking at the glossary. The writing was a balance between fantastic world building but it being incredibly digestible. But then again, I did watch the movie first, so I had a point of reference. But I still think in its own essence, it had excellent world building. Another thing that I didn't expect was that it had a lot of dialogue and more point of views than I expected. You probably get to see over 5 different characters' point of view, but it's not like a typical fantasy novel where it's divided by chapters. The way Frank Herbert does this is that he switches very quickly between one character to another, so it's seamless when you read it, which can be a bit confusing, but just reread it again and it'll just click. I personally loved how there was different point of views within the same page and not divided between chapters, because it gave me a live reaction of what each individual in that scene was thinking. And I thought that was very engaging to me, and I think that's what made me continue on with this book, was that ability to switch between characters. Something I loved in Dune was the characters. There are an abundance of different characters with different gifts throughout the whole book of Dune. You've got Mentats, you've got the Bene Gesserits, you've got the Freemen, you've got the Harkonnens, and they all have such distinct characteristics, and it makes it so much fun. It's like, oh, I want to be that kind of person or alien. I won't give away what gifts they have or what powers they have, but just know that it is so interesting, and it's like nothing I've read before. I personally enjoyed this book because of its politics and its war strategy. This may be because I have a PR background, but I really enjoyed the spinning and the web pulling from each planet and each house. It was great. I love being able to understand why they did this strategy, or how this strategy leads to this strategy, which ends up in this outcome. And I love that. I love knowing the nitty-gritty, and how people think is, I think, what I really enjoyed. And you definitely get into the mind of a lot of the characters and their thought process of, why did I do that? What will be the outcome? What if I don't do that, and if I do this, what will happen? And I love that. So if you're not a big fan of that kind of aspect of politics and war strategy, I don't think this may be the book for you. So within the Book of Dune, there's actually no like chapters. There's no chapters 1 to 50. They are divided into chapters in a way that it is broken up by a vignette, which kind of hints at what that chapter will entail. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but I really enjoyed that I was able to have a little snippet of the chapter that I'm going to read next. So let's get on with what I didn't like about Dune. Something that I noticed throughout the book is that it does have that white savior complex. The white savior complex is an ideology where a person or a group of white people save and liberate and free non-white people and people of color. This is harmful as it kind of perpetuates white supremacy, that people of color rely on being saved all the time and that they are weaker. So I didn't really like that within the book, but it shows more within the movie. So that's more of a critique of the movie than the book. Another thing that I didn't like was that it was so long but so short. Like, the book itself is quite thick and like the writing is quite small. But I feel like in the last 200 pages, a lot happened and a lot was cut out. Like, we went from X scene to a Y scene to Z scene without any like bridges in between, which I think I would have enjoyed those little snippets in between. I thought there was going to be more crucial scenes between the relationships between certain characters. There is a subtle romance within the Book of Dune, but again, it's not the main plot line, so don't expect that. All in all, I rated Dune a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was great. I thought it was a fantastic read. I enjoyed the characters especially and the journey, and I can't wait to read more sci-fi. I hope you attempt Dune. You don't have to read if you don't want to, obviously. If you are scared of reading something out of your wheelhouse and out of your comfort zone, don't be. Because this book, if you like fantasy, it reads very similarly, it's got different elements. And I think it's worth the read. I really do. So for those who say that they're intimidated by it, don't be. It's an easy read. I read it, so please believe me that if I read it, you can read it. So if you like this review, click the like button, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought of Dune, the book and the movie. Catch you later.